There's actually a ton of hidden mechanics and secrets in Marvel Rivals that the game actually doesn't tell you. And today I'm going to be going over all the ones I've found and ones that have been submitted to me by viewers like you. Subscribe if you're new, like the video if you liked it, and I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So getting started, we come to our first hero, StarLord. StarLord's role is useful in a lot of different ways. The first one being while you're in StarLord's ultimate form, you can roll to dodge incoming fire and instantly reload your guns. This allows you to quickly mow down enemies with your aimbot. But did you know you can also use your roll to dodge incoming ultimates? When it comes to Punisher, there's a mechanic that essentially gives you infinite ammo. Now, I've talked about this mechanic in previous videos, but essentially, swapping to your secondary is faster than reloading. Pull out this mechanic, all you have to do is shoot your primary or secondary weapon, then swap your weapon to whatever you were shooting from, give it about a second or so, then swap back, and boom, your gun is reloaded, removing the hassle of having to reload. Now, when it comes to practically every single area of effectability in this game, all of these abilities, whether it be a ultimate or not, they can all be blocked with a shield, that being Doctor Strange, or even Magneto with his primary shield, or even his self and ally shield. So if you see a big area of effectability coming at you, then you should probably shield. And did you know in the Payload game mode, similar to that of Team Fortress 2 in Overwatch, you would think that the more people that are pushing the objective, the faster it'll be. Well, yes, that is the case, but there is kind of a soft lock. To achieve maximum speed of the payload, you have to have 4 people on it. And whether you have 4 players or 6 players on it, it's the same exact speed. So while your 2 tanks and supports are pushing the point, you can send out your 2 DPS players as sacrifices. Now, some of you, myself included, might think Scarlet Witch is on the weaker side, but we might have actually been playing her the wrong way the entire time. Her primary fire, which is the suck, it deals a flat amount of damage as well as 5% of the enemy's max health a second. This means that Scarlet Witch can actually do a ton of damage against chunky tanks, things like Hulk and Groot. But on the flip side, if you're targeting characters that have lower HP, then of course you're not going to be doing as much damage. This again is because she does 5% of the enemy's max health a second. Now, as I'm a gross Hawkeye player, these next couple mechanics are all for my Hawkeye players. The first one being don't sleep on Hawkeye's default melee. Hawkeye's default melee can deflect incoming projectiles. This is actually a huge assortment of things, from default primary attacks all the way to different sorts of abilities. For example, things like Winter Soldier's hook and his charged orb that he throws out, these can be deflected. Another thing is you can easily sit behind a wall and charge up your arrow on an enemy at the same time. Because Marvel Rivals is a third-person shooter over the right-hand shoulder, you can easily put yourself behind a left-sided wall with your crosshair on an enemy and still having line of sight, even though the enemy has no idea you're actually there. This mechanic is super useful in a lot of different ways, allowing you to hit shots on enemies that probably didn't even know you were actually there. And did you know that Moon Knight has an ability or combo that can essentially one-shot any player on the enemy team? I also talked about the same combo in my Moon Knight guide. Now, this combo is rather straightforward. The first thing you want to do is land your Ankh ability, and then the second it lands, immediately land a primary fire. After doing your primary fire, instantly use your secondary fire. Do it as fast as you can after you use your primary attack. Then as your alternative fire is cast out, immediately follow up with one more primary attack. This is the bread and butter of any good Moon Knight player, and by using your secondary fire as fast as possible, it should perform an animation cancel, thus allowing you to get a rapid primary attack out. Now this in theory, if all the attacks align in the right way, you should in theory be able to one-shot any single character that has 275 HP and below. This of course if the situation and timing is all perfect and correct. But still, even if you don't one-shot said player, you can still do a lot of damage. Now, another tech that you should probably know by now if you're playing Moon Knight is look directly at the ground and grapple. This allows you to kind of perform a super jump. It's also super useful so you don't have to grapple to a surface that's super far away, and you don't have to wait that long time for moving from point A to point B, saving you time and giving you a ton of height. When it comes to playing magic, sometimes it feels like you're not doing really any damage, or maybe you feel like too many things are going the wrong way for you to play this character, and that is because you need to learn how to animation cancel. One of the most essential combos you need to know for this character is to dash, perform a primary attack, do a quick melee, whether that be your default keybind of V or anything else you have it set to, then perform your slash. By doing so, you cancel out animations, allowing you to do a huge burst of damage. And I am in no means a good magic player, but if you're wanting to get really good at magic, I guess the quote-unquote secret mechanic is animation canceling, and it's something you should work on if you're trying to get good at this character. Now for another useful or secret mechanic that hopefully you should probably know by now, that is for Noir. again I'm sorry for the pronunciation, but you can stick his turrets on any type of surface. Usually you want to place your turrets on a wall or underneath a bridge, somewhere that's going to make the enemies look up and not pay attention to the enemy players in front of them. And I also talked about all the mechanics for this specific character in a previous guide, so make sure to check that out. Now another hidden mechanic, I wouldn't really say this is hidden, but more like super useful, and that is for Winter Soldier or Bucky, however you want to call him. As we all know, Bucky has a hook that's extremely useful, similar in a way to Roadhog from Overwatch, allowing you to get a quick and easy pick. But you can actually secure this pick in elimination a lot easier, simply by hooking in your target, briefly moving to the side, then using your shoulder charge into your team. This makes it so the enemy is stuck in the middle of your team, allowing you to get a super easy pick. But be careful of who you decide to hook. I would try to stay away from characters like Doctor Strange and Groot specifically, as well as some problems may come out of it. Now Penny actually has some pretty insane mechanics. Now hopefully by now you're aware of Penny's ability that sends out a web and kinda entraps or snares people. But since it's counted as a projectile, that means it has a hitbox. And because it has a hitbox, that means it can block a ton of ultimates. Now, just to name a couple, you can block Iron Man's ultimate, Magneto's ultimate, and much more. Now, not only that, but if a character like Scarlet Witch or StarLord are performing their ultimate, if you somehow manage to land the most impossible shot of your life onto them with the snare, it will actually cancel their ultimate and stop them from ulting. It is by far probably the hardest thing to do in this game that I have found. And I haven't even been able to capture it on video, but just take my word for it, this is something you can do that's pretty insane. Psylocke has an incredibly high potential damage output due to her abilities and the combos that can be done. Now I also talked about this in my Psylocke guide video, but a combo or mechanic that you need to know is one that utilizes her primary, secondary, and dash attack. And to pull this off, all you have to do is land your primary attack, followed it up by your secondary attack. Now you might be thinking you need to recall your secondary attack. However, that's not the case in this combo. Instead of recalling the secondary attack, we're going to be dashing through the opponent. Dashing through the opponent does a flat damage, but it not only does that flat damage, if you have your secondary attack still stuck on them, then your alternative fire also gets recalled. This in turn allows you to do a ton of damage. And because this combo does so much damage, you should pretty much always one-shot a character with 250 HP. Although it's not perfect as lag and other things may vary in this combo, but you should consistently one-shot 250 HP characters or practically put them to 1 HP. Now some other mechanics you should be aware of, or not necessarily hidden mechanics but hidden settings, is when you go to settings, go to Venom. From there go to keyboard and combat, scroll down where you see easy swing. Easy swing is probably the bane of existence. Easy swing forces you to web to specific points. Turning it off allows for a lot more fluidity. Now this same exact setting is something that Spider-Man also has, so I recommend going into the settings and turning that off as well. And there you have it, those are my secret and hidden mechanics for Marvel Rivals. And if you want any of your mechanics to be featured in future videos, make sure to comment down below what your mechanic is. This has been Duck Films, and I hope you have a great day.